ReefDudes is sponsored by Brightwell Aquatics and Bulk Reef Supply.
Today we're talking sumps and sump maintenance. What's going on, guys? Devin from ReefDudes. Now, one of my patrons, Melanie, sent me a message, said she was new to sumps and asked about kind of cleaning, maintaining a sump and what's all involved. So first of all, shout out, thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon, Melanie, and this video is for you. So today I figured we'd go over sumps, kind of like the basic concepts of them, why do we have them, why do we use them, what I would recommend for maintenance, and kind of keeping your system in tip-top shape. Now for starters, what is the purpose of a sump? Well, in my mind, the main purpose of a sump is to give you that extra capacity and give you a place to hide all your gear. Now if you're coming over from freshwater tanks, generally you'll have your filter on the side of the tank, you'll have your heater, you'll have everything in the tank. Now with saltwater tanks, we tend to put all that stuff in the sump so that your display, you don't see any equipment. The only thing you really see is the power heads. So it gives you a nice, clean, kind of pristine look. And that's really one of the core things of a sump in my mind. So let's go under the hood and take a look. All right, so take a look at two different sumps. This is a custom sump I had made from Geo's Reef. Absolutely beautiful sump. Now the core purpose of the sump, again, is to hold all your filtration. So in my case, the water drains from the tank, so we have our overflow column, comes all the way down through the pipes, and it runs into the first chamber, then goes through my filter roller. Most people would have filter socks. Then from here it goes to the skimmer chamber, refugium, then back over to the return pump and comes back out through the return nozzles. Now if you're plumbing a tank for the first time, I did a really great video on how to plumb a tank about a year or two ago, so definitely take a look at that one. But if it's your first time plumbing, I would always recommend doing a gate valve on your main drain. And that's how you control and kind of keep your overflow quiet. Usually there's a secondary drain that you set more of a trickle, and the gate valve lets you fine tune it so you get that water level just trickling to the second drain. Now if you want to be extra hardcore, you can plumb a third emergency drain, and that's what you call a bean animal. Now if we look down, first thing, so my sump is definitely overdue for a little bit of maintenance. If you look inside, you got all those little tiny white crusty kind of bits on the side of there. Now if this was a glass sump, I would take my aquarium scraper and I would clean all the inside of it. Now because this is acrylic, you got to be a little more gentle on it, so I tend to just use an old credit card. And I use that to clean all the sides. If you got a little bit of algae, another really good thing you can use is a melamine eraser, something like a Mr. Clean sponge. You just got to make sure it's original one, doesn't have any chemical cleaning agents or anything mixed into it. Now over time, detritus will build up in your sump. Detritus is kind of like that little mollumy stuff that builds up over time on the bottom of the surface. And if you have high nutrients, this could be contributing to it. So it is a good idea to kind of go through and clean up every once in a while. Generally, your filter socks and rollers will catch most of it, but if your socks run out or your roll runs out, you don't change it for a while, it overflows, it does build up over time. So every few months, it is a good idea to take your water change hose and just vacuum all of this out. Now, if you're doing weekly water changes, it's pretty easy to just suck a bunch out of your sump at certain times, maybe every few water changes, and you'll keep it up to date. Now, I do auto water changes, so I don't do this nearly as much as I should be, but looking at it, I'm obviously due for it. The next part of regular maintenance would be emptying your skimmer cup. So over time, your skimmer cup is gonna get all full of that nice, nasty skimmate. So, I try to empty this once a week, and at that time, I clean out the neck and everything in the cup. Now, I don't clean out the skimmer body as much, but I'm gonna say every 6 months or so, I'll take the skimmer out and I will run it in a bucket with some citric acid. And that gives it a really good deep cleaning, and then I'll rinse it off and it makes it look like brand new again. So the next chamber over, we have the refugium. You can kind of see it's growing out of the water. So this is time for this to be trimmed. Now, if it's growing out of the water, it's likely not growing as well as it should be because it's exposed to air. So if your chamber is packed full, if it's growing out of the water, this is time to harvest it. So I would probably pull about half of this out. So it's about halfway through the chamber. This is going to give it more space to grow and give you better nutrient export. Now also at the top, you can see it's out of the water. I got a little bit of green, nasty cyano, whatever's growing on it. So pulling this out will again get rid of all that stuff because you're basically tossing it away, and it'll leave all the healthy stuff underneath to grow where it actually has water flow and will prevent all that buildup. Now if we come on the other side, we can see similar thing. You can see all that growing out of the water. Typically you don't need a power head in your Chaeto. I mainly added this in just because that's for my kalkwasser drips. That's just to mix it up and help it dilute further. Now if you have some kind of a sponge inside of your sump, This is something I would recommend pulling out and cleaning, so probably once a month I'll give that a rinse. I probably should do a little more frequently, but that just catches any chaeto or anything going to the next chamber myself. So next over, I do have the media reactor. Again, this isn't really directly sump maintenance, but whenever your meat is exhausted, I usually give that a good clean out when I refill it. One thing most people don't do, but is a good consideration. If we look outside, I got all these media blocks in the bottom. So these are the eShots BioLux. Now over time, this media is going to clog up with bits of bacteria and stuff growing over the surface. So something that should be part of your maintenance would be take some of your water change water and take some of these and shake it around and knock all that kind of mullum or that build off of the blocks. And you're going to reopen that pore structure, which is going to help it work better for you. So a lot of people don't consider that one, but you should kind of give your media a good swish once in a while just to knock all that off. Now, if we have optical sensors, so on this one we have the Neptune ATK, and there's optical sensors. So every once in a while, it is a good idea to take a toothbrush or take something to clean off those sensors, just so that they don't get gummed up with anything, they continue to work. Now, if you're using something like an aquarium controller, not directly against sump maintenance, but we have all our probes in the back. So that is something that periodically you'd want to clean. I tend to just use a soft toothbrush on it, and then every once in a while, I'm going to say 3 to 6 months, I will recalibrate them. Now, I am definitely far overdue for that, but that is something on the to-do list. And we also have the return pump. This one I probably clean it, I'm going to say about once a year. I'll take it out and give it a vinegar bath. Realistically, 6 months to a year is a good kind of time frame to shoot for. It kind of keeps stuff running in tip-top shape. Now, if we take a look at the office tank, this sump is much simpler. The water comes down straight into the filter roller. Underneath that, I have 2 of the Brightwell bricks, so this is most of the media for this tank. Now, this is more of a frag tank, so there's not a lot of rock in it in the moment. So those 2 bricks are doing most of my filtration, or kind of live rock surface area. So there's one underneath the filter roller, so it kind of forces the water through it. There's another one this way, so as the water goes to the skimmer, it's going to have to run through both those blocks. Now again, those are something that should be kind of rinsed and give it a bit of a shake once in a while. So that comes over, goes to the skimmer, and then super simple, flows into the next chamber. This could be used just for chaeto. Now I'm running a turf scrubber in this one. So part of my maintenance for this sump would be cleaning out the screen on the turf scrubber once in a while. So this guy is the clear water scrubber, and it's pretty caked with algae, so that is definitely due for a good cleaning. Now, if this massive chamber was chaeto, it'd be some time to empty it out. Next over, this is again full of little BioLux, those little tiny bricks. Now, ideally, I would fish these out and give them a really good cleaning. Again, they're definitely due for that. So we would pull those out, swish it around in a bucket. Now at the bottom of the sump, there's lots of detritus built up. So again, vacuum this all out. Now I have a bunch of nudibranchs in here, so I would have to be fairly cautious sucking out to make sure I don't suck them up, but general sump would be worth cleaning. Now I recently did clean my little pump, my little S1 feeding the turf scrubber, so that guy's looking pretty good. Same with the skimmer, and same with the filter roller. So they all had a fresh clean. So this sump, for the most part, was cleaned fairly recently, and then stuff flows back up to the tank. So as you guys can see, a sump can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. It could be as simple as a drain going to some chaeto, a heater return pump. It could be going down a filter socks, a skimmer, you got your heater auto top off return pump. Those are a lot of the basic sump designs. Now you can have reactors, turf scrubbers, all kinds of other gear you could add into there if you want to get fancy. Most things are not required, but they just help make your maintenance a little bit easier. Now, as for cleaning it, I always recommend, it's a good idea to try and clean a lot of your gear every 6 months or so. 6 months to a year, if you have a light in a refugium and you're getting that spill light on there, maybe you want to clean a little more frequently, right? Same with the skimmer body. It's still going to work if it's gunged up, but it just won't work as efficiently as if it's well maintained. So it just kind of helps your equipment last better long term and help you get more performance out of the gear you've already paid for. So Melanie, thank you for being a support on Patreon, and I hope this helps answer your questions. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments below. If you're bridging over from freshwater to saltwater, sumps could be a whole new concept to you, but just think of it as an extension of your tank to hide all of that gear to keep your display tank looking nice and pristine. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. As always, if you did, hit that like button if you're new, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.